10 seconds remaining. Dire team pick.
All right, welcome.
Radiant team pick.
Lich.
Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining.
Looking forward to this one. We've just seen the Dire win very convincingly versus Iceberg, but more importantly, Complexity in the meantime have also beaten EG in a different qualifier, so both teams coming hot off just a fresh win. So, even though some people may think, yeah, Dire, there are, the favorites, they've already beat Complexity at King's Cup, but I don't know, ever since then, Complexity has shaped up a lot. Again, they literally just beat EG, so who knows? Everything's on the table, I think, and we're going to be in for a treat.
Absolutely. Not that I'm surprised that result happened by any means, but as you mentioned, both these teams definitely have to be coming into this as a high. Again, the Dire overall with what they've been doing, and even now with the victory over Iceberg here about Complexity. How about that? Defeating EG in a 3-game series, 2-1. Definitely looked good doing it as you would expect. But now here they are. You got to calm the emotions, come back down, and all of a sudden, you're playing another big match for a completely other tournament. I mean, this has to be such a crazy week for these players and teams, but it's how it is, and you got to kind of go with the punches here. So obviously they had a 20-minute break, but we're back now, ready to go, and we got a draft already to talk about, Skim, so let's do that. The biggest thing, of course, being Complexity going the IO Tiny combination. This is something that Limp especially plays a Tiny very well. Z-Freak plays a great IO. Combine them together. We'll see what happens. There's a reason we don't see this combo too much nowadays, but at the same time, it still potentially can be really deadly.
Oh, for sure. In fact, Tiny was actually, I believe, unpicked at TI.
I think so. Yeah, I think
or
it's
at the very least, at the very least, very low pick rate. And IO is just a great hero that pairs with a lot of heroes, obviously these days. But Tiny is one of those classic combos, and is also a classic Complexity strat actually. Back when this team, had still Hanskin instead of Mu, they would pull out the IO Tiny quite frequently, actually. And even afterwards, they've tried the IO Tiny a lot of times because it is just a true and tested strategy of theirs. And like you said, Limp, a fantastic Tiny player, Z-Freak, a fantastic IO player. So again, we're in for a treat, but I do think that the Dire have two heroes that can deal with this. Lich is an excellent hero to deal with this for the laning stage, but also later in the game. IO Tiny want to be close to one another so that Frost, that Lich ultimate is going to bounce between them, and the Bat Rider is just a fantastic hero to deal with them. Yeah, sure, you can relocate out of a lasso, but what if you jump the IO, right? Nobody's going to save the IO, and it's so important to kill the IO early on. It restricts the Tiny's capabilities in the team fight. It makes it easier to kite him as well. So I think the Dire are very well equipped to deal with this already.
Yeah, no, already a good start, and I mean, at the time, obviously, they only got Lich, and they respond with the Bat Rider, but Complexity banning out a Necrophos and now a Lifestealer here even. Is there something that maybe pops into your mind that what the Dire could possibly still pick here to even further their, good chances against this combo? As we see a Silencer, by the way, coming out. Kyle's been playing a lot of Silencer for Complexity here in these past weeks, so popular pick, and also great as an anti-Bat Rider tool.
Definitely, and it sort of fits their playstyle in a sense. Kyle, I'm not going to say that he has a restricted hero pool, but I think he has a certain amount of heroes that he excels at in every position, right? I think in a support position as well, especially we've seen him really strong on the hero, now really strong on the Silencer as well, and he just gets the timing of those as well, those big ultimates, those big globals as well, and at least in the past couple of games from Complexity, I think they've always timed it really well, their ganks and fights with the global, and that is something that not a lot of teams get right. It can backfire a lot if you use the global too early or maybe hold on for it too long. It can definitely backfire, so having the right timing and having that cohesion is very important. And as for the Dire, I don't know, to be honest. I think there are a variety of their heroes, of their own heroes that they can pick that they haven't been banned yet. We've seen the Spirit Breaker from Misery in a game earlier, which definitely still can work here. Together with the Bat Rider, there's a lot of gank potential. It can be pretty strong against the IO as well, because the IO is pretty squishy. But at the same time, Complexity, just the Tiny itself, a lot of these roamers can easily be bursted. That is just such a fantastic combo. So,
Yeah.
I don't know, we'll see. Maybe even the Earth Spirit hasn't been banned yet. We haven't seen it earlier because Iceberg banned it twice against the Dire, but it is also one of Misery's heroes that he's excelled at lately. So, a couple of options here. Earth Spirit has the added benefit of having the silence up against the IO, even against the silencer as well. So, denying that global silence could be huge, but they're gonna go with a Slada, which pretty much fulfills the same role in a sense. I mean, all these roamers, right? They just want to have some sort of initiation, some sort of disruption, some sort of like lane winning potential.
You know what would have been interesting to me is Night Stalker wasn't banned here. It definitely could have been a pickup. I guess even going for the Dire. And then on top of that, something like a Lycan. You got that synergy right there of the nighttime especially, and being able to heal people up through the tiny bursts as it's starting to happen could have been a solid tool to take advantage of. But they go a different route. They go the Slaughter. Which, by the way, you talk about these 4-position heroes. You mentioned Earth Spirit, Night Stalker, Sand King comes to mind, but Slaughter really hasn't been seeing a lot of action in the 4 role as of late, in general, as of late. But going here for the Dire, why? What, I mean, Tiny already has very little armor in the first place, so maybe about that or what?
Yeah, I think they definitely want to deal with him. Sure, he has the little armor in the first place, but he usually builds into armor items, right? He's going to get an AC, maybe even a butterfly. The Aghanim is going to provide him with sufficient stats as well. It's just to make sure that they have sufficient physical damage as well, or at least help their physical damage dealer to deal with the Tiny. And Slaughter has definitely fallen off because other heroes just can do more damage, and they just can do more around the map, right? If you Blake Echo, that's just a lot of burst damage, very effective. And Slaughter usually needs a hero to combo with. We've seen him rise to popularity with the Wind Ranger in the beginning, and it totally makes sense to find like a combo hero. And in this case, the Dire picked the Sven. It's just a very strong match. Like the minus armor from Slaughter on top of the Sven is just very strong, even against the Phantom Lancer as well. It's just a good answer right now.
5 seconds.
Yeah, that cleave going to be able to ideally cleave down the Phantom Lancer illusions amongst fine, especially with the God Strength up here. So that's perhaps one of several ideas as to why they're liking the idea of a Sven now. And now the final bans to come. So you figure Complexity, they probably still need their offlaner, right? I mean, that's really what's left for them. It's not often we see the offlane as a final option, but you'd expect that there. And then a mid option most likely for the Dire. So they're planning on doing something like a Bat Rider mid, perhaps, but that would be my guess at least. So what are you banning here for Complexity? They ban a Queen of Pain.
Yeah, you definitely want something with a lot of burst damage, AoE burst damage as well. I think it would have been probably between the Queen of Pain and the Puck. I think those 2 heroes would have been really strong. You want something that can gank with a Bat Rider and the Slaughter, has a lot of burst damage, can deal with the IO, with the Phantom Lance illusions, and more importantly, deal with tiny IO in the lane as well. They could technically go for something, maybe even melee if they wanted to, but I generally think they probably want a ranged sort of like initiator. So I'm honestly just thinking of the Puck right now. And as for Complexity, I think this might be a great Timbersaw game. It is one of Moo's signature heroes. It can deal very well with a Sven. Yeah, there is a lot of disabled, and of course the minus armor from the slot against the Timbersaw. But overall, there's these heroes are pretty much food for a Timbersaw. So this could potentially be a good game for it. But I don't know. I haven't seen it lately, so I'm not sure if it's on their radar right now.
Well, it's like a Dragon Knight here. It's funny you bring that up because actually the third game there with the Complexity EG series, we actually did see a Timbersaw in that game. Sure enough.
Oh, all right.
EG actually ran it on their side, of course, in the losing effort there. But so Dragon Knight's going to be the mid option for the Dire. There you go. Instead of an objective pusher, but still brings a fair amount of physical damage. We're thinking maybe something like the Queen of Pain, more magic presence, but the Dire, they like Dragon Knight, CC&C paired up. Something we've seen a bit lately.
Tide Hunter.
You may now select your heroes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's either something like that, or maybe like a Darkseer was also coming to mind, speaking of a mech carrier in the offlane, and great for Teamfight presence, but they go the Tidehunter route instead, which I love Tidehunter personally. I think, you know, that the Ravage obviously a fun ability to cast in itself, but also that this is a beefy frontliner that's going to be able to sustain some of that physical damage, of course, coming out from especially this Fen and the Dragonite even, so... not a hero we see often, but does make sense here in the hands of Moo, coming out for complexity. So, Phantom Lancer into the Sven, though. I mean, obviously they picked a Phantom Lancer before Sven. It was just a nice counter pick, you could almost call from the Dire side. But is that a concern now if you're complexity? The fact that you're running a Phantom Lancer into this, or is this still overall potentially an okay PL game?
I still think it's an overall okay PL game. There's a little bit of a love and hate relationship between Phantom Lancer and Sven. It depends on the state of the game and the stage of the game. Because yeah, sure, you have cleave and can deal with those Phantom Lancer illusions, but depending on how the difference in terms of net worth and the items, the Phantom Lancer can still kite around the Sven because he's likely going to go to Fusel. The Phantom Lancer is going to slow him down. So there's a lot of ways to kite him around and then eventually force him into a scenario where you can potentially even kill him and where he can't kill all those illusions on time. So I don't know. It's not necessarily like a straight up like definite counter where Sven is always going to come out on top. So this is still very doable for them.
Yeah.
All right. And I'm on the observer bug again, so I have to restart Dota 2 as well.
Think for me, personally, I mean, it's awesome that I get to be doing this in the sense that I have a history with obviously several of these players here, but most noticeably PPD versus Swindlemelons, now known as coL.
So juicy
over here. Yeah.
If you're coL, you just beat EG. If you get the chance to beat PPD on top, this is the best day of your life, or the best. No, not the best day of your life, but it's probably the best day of the week by far. So I think coL will definitely look to try and win this game. As hard. Oh, yeah. I mean, obviously he's always going to try and win any game, but
it's just a little bit
extra motivation. Exactly.
Absolutely. No, I 100% agree, and there could be nothing on the line for this matchup right here, and they would want to no doubt be doing all that they can to win this series. So I love it here, and excited to get it finally kicked off now. As here we go. The bottom bounty rune is going to be stolen, but so is the top one in favor of complexity. So looks like it's going to end up being a 2-2 split anyways, as they actually give Z-Freak the bounty up here, and he's running down to this
just
one?
For the bottle.
No.
Making sure they can get the instant bottle, pretty much. And with that, he'll, this is one of the ways to sort of like have control of the mid lane, making sure the Wisp can always get the runes. That way the Tiny can always stay in lane, and you don't lose the courier, for example, to a Misery.
Yeah, we saw right there where they were sending it. Oh, the toss comes in actually, and now Dragonite gonna take some good pressure coming out. CNC, he's feeling it. This is gonna be first blood in favor. Limp getting credit for it. What a chuck or toss even to start that off from the Tiny. And
all right, 40 seconds into the game, coL TPs into the mid lane for a kill. Like, you just don't see that so often. I'm not even sure they needed his damage, but it was actually a really good move from him because there's 2 additional intelligence.
Get the 2 intelligence, and it secures the kill, if anything. So obviously a fantastic start. And that was, Limp actually got credit for that. You see he's running up right here again. Now he has the Avalanche combo. And again, you also see a little bit of the buff coming into play here with that toss, where, remember, it used to be 120 for each ability. Yet they changed that fairly recently, where that was just 90 mana at level 1 and increments of 10 at each level here. So you're a little more likely to be able to use that toss ability earlier on in the game now.
Yeah, and we're seeing here right now what I sort of talked about in the last game, where it was the OD versus the DK. You know, what we call it Dire versus Iceberg. If the DK doesn't have a good time, it's gonna really affect his laning stage a lot because he relies that much on the early game to get, or on the, like the first 2 minutes to get that bottle up. And if he doesn't get that bottle up on time, it's just gonna, it's sort of like a devil's cycle of just not getting farm at all, right? And he already has the boots queued up as well in case he doesn't get the bottle. I'm sure he'll just get the boots. Like, if he dies again, he'll probably just insta-buy the boots before he dies.
Well, we got to talk about these other lanes, too, because mid lane, as entertaining as it is, already first blood happening. Top lane, Chessie, the doppelganger, not only jukes the stun attempt from Slaughter, but it guarantees the kill on a Batrider. Perfect timing on his part. So how about that, though? Phantom Lancer up here with, now we see Silencer obviously making his way back, essentially an aggressive dual lane, as they have Tidehunter in the bottom. Sven is rotated. I don't even know who was there first, to be honest, but Sven's at the bottom, of course, as a rotation. But some mind games going on here in the laning phase.
Yep, and at the bottom lane, it's just difficult to deal with his Tidehunter. You can't really zone him out of the lane as a Lich because Tidehunter is just very tanky, and because of the early boots build as well, he isn't really slow, so he can always walk up to the Lich as well. So in that sense, yeah, you can deny him creeps, but effectively speaking, he's still getting experience and even last hits, and in that sense, effectively, Complexity is winning all 3 lanes right now. It's, yeah, sure, it's still early, but right now they're winning all 3 lanes.
According to the CS, they're winning all 3 lanes, so I think you're definitely not wrong to suggest that right here. The top 3 farmers in the game all belong on their side. I mean, Dragonite now competing somewhat, but yeah, Moo's doing fantastic down here, getting the level 2 Kraken Shell, so he's like, alright, yeah, I can just tank this damage, eat a tree. I'll be fine. Top lane, Chessie, no, thought he might have been going right there, but Zai keeping his distance. Middle lane, they're definitely going, though. Avalanche in the toss coming out. There's a Tether slow. Trying to get the orbs out. Don't know if it's going to be enough damage. Probably not. Yeah, he just falls back, and he'll be fine using that bottle, but they keep the pressure up. Look at this. Taking out the bottle charges. I love it. Just on point. And again, he has basically a moving fountain with him anyways in the IO, so he's not afraid to use that mana here on the toss.
Yeah. Oh, CCNC.
Is this a kill? He's going in again, isn't he? Breathe Fire comes out. Tiny missed the crush on him. He only hit the IO, though, and so CCNC will survive, but just see how balls to the wall he is playing right here.
Yeah. Good though on Misery to come here because he's going to contest the rune. If it does spawn top, they're lucky. But Lich also bottom lane. Yeah, this is how you have to deal with the tiny wisp mid. You need to have control of the runes because the only way they can sustain this lane is by just constantly harassing the mid laner and having superior regeneration. But if you deny the runes, which obviously there are bounty runes still to pick up, but if you do deny the runes, you have potential to kill this tiny. They do.
Oh, Tiny is in trouble right now. The Avalanche did hit Slark initially, or Slaughter even, but it's not enough to save himself. The Dragon Tail comes out from CCNC, and eventually they do take him out. So that's a 2-man rotation of sorts, and ultimately 3 heroes coming together. And guess what the big factor was, too? Obviously, Io not being there. He was back at base doing the regen, getting those bottle charges. So good timing by the Dire there.
Perfectly executed. Again, this comes down to, or this comes back to them denying him the runes, like, or that 1 4-minute rune. He was forced to go back to base. He could have technically gone for the bounty runes, but it wouldn't have been enough in terms of regeneration for both of them. So just a good timing, and it does give CCNC some space to get back into sort of like farming. With the bottle as well, he can use Breathe Fire to at least secure last hits. So he's doing fine, and I would say that in a sense this lane has somewhat evened out. But the other lane's definitely still in favor of Complexity.
Sven here, bottom lane, working on that Mask of Madness, of course. Don't really expect that to sway too much as far as that typical build. He's going to be picking up the Quarterstaff here early on for some enhanced farm potential. Lich making his way down here as well, just going to simply harass, but you can see right there, the level 2 Frost Blast. It just tickles Tidehunter, as if it didn't even happen there. He's more than fine, so he's a beefy target, has that Ring of Regen on him. We'll see what he builds that into, but of course, going the Arcane Boots next.
Well, top lane has been abandoned, and instead Batrider and Slaughter are going to go for a kill, which I assume is going to go mid? Well, are they going to wrap around bottom? Again, it's a very tanky title. They could probably kill him with 4 heroes, so they should be able to kill him. He's not level 6 yet. If he was level 6, I'd say he probably escapes, but just because he isn't yet, he's probably dead.
Here we go. Here's the 4-man gank on the raid boss. Moo, taking the damage, has a TP. Can he TP now? He's not feeling comfortable about it. Yeah, they had the crush still, so no way he was getting out. And he will end up dying in the end. So the 4-man gank is successful. by the Dire side. That's one of those cases you go, oh, guys, there's 4 people ganking me. And then you're like, oh, push out the lanes. That's what he's doing at the top lane. Middle lane, CCNC. He's in trouble again, too. He will die to the orbs. No, the last one didn't hit. And he barely survives. He went in instead of out. Z-Freak just out of the angle there. So close.
So close and so clutch as well. If they get that kill, would have been a huge win. But at the same time, it is pretty much a win anyway, because they forced CCNC to walk back to base, region up, and then has to TP back. So a lot of time wasted for him, and just after I mentioned that, you know, he was sort of recovering in the lane, which, you know, 30 last hits isn't bad by any means, but it's also not great either, so... I don't know, this laning stage, again, it's working into Complexity's favor, especially now with that kill into the Batrider. But at the end of the day, I think if you're a Team Dire, you're not really too focused on winning the lanes anyway. You're probably looking for that mid-game, you know, with the Batrider, with his blink rotations. So that is definitely something where they can still easily come back into this game, with the Dragon Knight as well, taking objectives. So as long as they stay focused, and maybe not give away kills.
Oh, PPD in trouble right here. He has a crush coming out for Misery, though, so not only going to stop them, but maybe try to set up a turn. Dragon Knight is running in. Limpy chucks him in and gets the kill, though, onto Lich. He's like, thank you for standing nearby me. I'll use you as a target.
And they immediately ping it. Guys, the only way he can toss me there, he can toss you there, is because they have vision.
Yep.
But that ward already paying off, and ooh, coL even instantly finds the D ward as well. Alright, D warded them, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's well played on their part, and you know, even if they end up dewarding that, obviously it's already worth it. The kill that you got out of it. He has 15 charges on his wand, so he could actually set up a combo here if he finds the chance to.
They might just be baiting it, yeah.
There you go. They're gonna go in. Silencer here as well. There goes the silence from the last word. The Arcane's Curse comes up, and that's a kill. Maybe not. Oh my god, he's gonna live. Magic Wand, the bottle charges. CCNC is not gonna survive in the end, though. But at what cost now for the Radiant side? In comes Zai. Misery with a crush to finish off IO. And now coL, he's going to lead him the other directions. Limp lands a 2-man avalanche, though. That's a courier coming, actually. Tosses Misery in the air. And now coL with the Arcane's Curse looking to turn on to Misery. Limp, another toss in 2 more seconds. Here comes Phantom Lancer. The Spirit Lance on a Batrider. Slardar is dead. Batrider goes down. And the rotations are pretty solid from Complexity right there. Get a couple of kills.
This is some good coordination from Complexity. Yeah, they overextend a little bit in the mid lane, and you know, they trade the IO, and it sort of looked like they were almost overextending again, but I don't know, they just made it work. And in the meantime, Moose just silently farming. Look at him. He's pushing up the top lane, applying pressure. He's even zoning out the Lich. They're just making... Oh, well,
he's swimming, man. Z-Freak, he's gonna tether away to his brother right here, and he will be fine. Limp. His brother's not nearby. He's at the bottom lane pushing out the tower right there. Global Silence, though, going to try to prevent Lim from getting killed. Z-Freak, he does have another tether up. Block a little bit. They turn for the kill and slaughter, though. Avalanche comes out. He could not get the toss-off, though. Finally gets a toss-off and chucks Sven into him. God Strength activated. Chessie is rotating over, though. Tiny is going to fall, but now CCNC. He needs to be careful. Doppelganger 4. Chessie, he wants the Batrider, though. He's a much squishier target. Flame Break pushback. It did not get the real one to push the illusion over the edge. The armor is applied, though. And that is going to be enough room for Zai to escape here. So good response. Again, Moo, you mentioned he's farming that top lane, pushing it in all the way to the secondary tower. I got to say, though, they could probably start using this Tidehunter in upcoming fights. Definitely.
And I didn't quite check it, but I wonder why he didn't TP, because they were actually fighting very close to the shrine. Could have maybe even turned around the fight with the Ravage, but yeah, never mind. He hasn't skilled it yet.
Yeah,
which again, it's not even that bad. I mean, this is definitely a viable skill, but it has been done before. And you know, the way he's playing, it makes sense to not skill the Ravage. But if he had it there, that's probably a turnaround. Maybe get even 2 kills onto the enemy carries. But
well,
no,
he's sitting on a point, right? Because yeah, he only has 7 points. Yeah, he's actually sitting on a point right now. There you go.
I think he was probably deciding whether or not they... I mean, I think in the team comms they probably decide, all right, don't TP, just keep on applying pressure. We can manage here, and maybe they overextend a little bit, because it almost looked like a good fight, right? If Z-Freak doesn't get stunned there, they probably heal both him and the Tiny up, and they maybe turn it around without Tidehunter. So
yeah,
just small nuances at this point.
Batrider running in bottom lane. coL's in a lot of trouble. Lasso? He doesn't have Lasso, actually. He doesn't have wand charges, so relocate coming in. Zai, you're overstepping your boundaries, good sir. Limp. Avalanche is just out of range. The toss on a Zai, but they're not going to be able to follow him up, so good job by Sven. Running away in time. He has that Mask of Madness. Finished, of course.
Now. he just picked up the blink, and they haven't. I don't think they've seen it yet. So this could this could potentially work into a kill.
Well, they did just use relocate, so that's the unfortunate thing. But again, having the blink, definitely still a way to get a kill. Look at the stack, by the way. That's what a triple stack here for Sven. Bycat cleaning that up, and as you'd expect with the Sven on the other side. Support's doing a good job of making sure that's ready to go. So his farm pretty good right now.
Yeah, and they have to be careful though, because on the Radiant side they also have a stack right now. They have to be careful to not give that to the Sven. Obviously, you know, this stack is meant for this Tiny once he has an Aghanim's, or potentially together farming it with the Tide Hunter early on. But if they give this to the Sven, that's what, like 300 gold, 400 gold maybe. So yeah, just make sure to protect that stack at all costs.
What do you think Limp does get next? You mentioned the Yags. Is it that right away, or maybe the Echo Saber at least first, and then into it, or Shadow Blade? I mean, what directions would you like to see?
It depends how they want to run this game. Just because they have Phantom Lancer, he might actually go into something like the Shadow Blade or the Echo Saber. But there's a couple of builds. He could even go drums first still as well. I think that could be an excellent item choice. But definitely something in that regard. I don't think you want to go aggro straight up, because you don't have the attack speed.
Ravage is ready. Expected to come out perhaps. Jane Frost, the Global Science is used. Frost bounce it around. It's eventually going to stop, though. Ravage, if they need this kill for it now, they're not going to use it. The toss is more than enough damage. In the backlines, though, Batrider is here. Moo is charging in. Sven, he's going to get caught. The Gush comes out on him, actually. Avalanche on top of that. He's just holding on the Ravage. They don't need it. They're able to catch up to them. Double kill coming out for Limp now. And Zion, that Batrider, is just going to firefly it away. Meanwhile, back to the middle lane, Slaughter. He may have got a little bit too curious. Limp, blinking 7 more seconds. Not going to go for it, though. Not worth it. So he holds onto the Ravage, but again, they didn't actually need it in the end, and now he still has it for another fight coming up.
Yeah, it's actually really smart. Like, the longer you don't use the Ravage, it's one of those silly things, right? The fear of the Ravage is bigger than the Ravage itself, you know? It's one of those things that... Ooh, that's a nice solo kill for Chessie.
Where was that? That was down here, yeah.
Yeah. It's something, you know, I think Poppy was it, or Melk said it, about Enigma, you know, the threat of the black hole is bigger than the black hole itself in some cases. And it's the same theory applies here. Because they haven't used Ravage yet, it gives Dire the, you know, it sort of like makes them scared of the Ravage, because they can't take team fights against this, because the Ravage is still gonna be there, right? If the Ravage wasn't there, they could maybe smoke gang and try to force a fight.
Oh! Nice Dragon Tail stun, but I don't think it's going to matter in the long run. And CCNC is going to be picked up here. They're just moving as a team now. This feels like what we were casting the series before this of the Dire versus Iceberg, and the Dire in that game too especially, they just started moving, and it was just go, go, go. And now you got Complexity doing that to the Dire here. And again, with Complexity's lineup, it makes a lot of sense, especially with the IO Tiny combination. But you can just tell when a team is in a groove. And right now, Complexity definitely feeling that groove. Again, coming off the high of the victory over EG, I'm sure. And now feeling good in game number 1 here. Not saying it's out of control by any means, but they have a 5,000 lead at 14.5 minutes. And this Tiny currently has a Manta style queued up. Now, that is not the direction I would have expected him to go in.
There's a Link Lasso.
He has Ravage. Does he maybe use it here to try to run? God, he's so tanky. This is 5 freaking heroes. Takes him like 10 seconds to kill him.
You know, I think if you're Team Dire, you probably don't really feel that pressure just yet. Yeah, sure, you can't really take any fights, but I think the way you're farming and, you know, the way your cores are farmed isn't actually that bad. Yeah, they're behind 5k, but I mean, they're also behind 3 towers, so a lot of that net worth advantage is a little bit deceptive. So quite frankly speaking, Dire is actually doing pretty well, all things considered. The Sven is pretty farmed. We just saw the blink on the Batrider, and Misery also has a blink now. Like, where does he get this farm on a Slaughter? They haven't taken a single tower, so that's not where the money's coming from. And
this is the timing.
Yeah, this is the timing for them. They're gonna have to find a lot of kills, and they probably will.
If they're going to recover in this game right now in the early phase, this is definitely their timing, and it's going to start right here, Chessie. Oh, they get the jump first. Avalanche comes out, the Global Science as well. And now Dragon Knight on the run. Batrider, he doesn't have the lasso, actually. Doppelganger forward from Chessie, splitting up Bycat. He does not have a blink himself on Sven, so he cannot necessarily just get in there. Silencer's going to be stunned, but they just keep on running. They do not want to run into what would be a Ravage. And again, this Tiny, who, by the way, does have the Yasha now picked up, so he is going to prioritize the Manta style, as I was just mentioning right here. Well, why do you think the Manta style? It's not an item we see all too often on Tiny.
Yeah, we don't see it, but it does provide him with a lot of necessary stats. You know, it makes him a little bit tankier. Like we mentioned earlier, he doesn't necessarily have a lot of armor early on, but you know, with agility, it does give him a little bit of armor attack speed. He can dispel the Slaughter ultimate with his Manta style, I believe. So you know, there's I don't know, there's definitely something there. And just in general, it just makes him tankier.
Yeah, so a very defensive item, really, is what it comes down to. But you know what? With the way they're getting kills already, it's kind of makes sense with that logic. You can see what Limp is thinking right here. 1,100 gold now saved up, so that Manta style is getting very close to in fact being finished. Phantom Lancer, definitely another hero that could also go in Manta style. Currently has his Diffusal finish, though, and of course that's big. Bottom lane, Kyle. Don't know if he's living through this one. No TP's coming in, just simply can accept death. It takes a little bit, but eventually do take him out. So again, the blink initiation doing a work there. Tidehunter is bottom, and actually he's just about level 12 here. In fact, he will hit it. So second point into Ravage now. Makes it that much stronger when it comes to actually using it.
The strength of Complexity's lineup is that they don't even need to have everybody present to defend a tower. Tidehunter walks in, 4 heroes disperse, because they know they cannot burst the Tidehunter in time before they blink, before the relocate comes in, so odds are he's going to get his Ravage out if they do jump him, and that basically means they can't take that fight. So they already just disperse. Like, that wouldn't happen with any other hero especially after they kill the Silence already, right? So this is a really well-rounded draft and a well-rounded playstyle from Complexity, and Dire are responding correctly. They're just, you know, making the most of it, farming with pretty much any hero they can. But at the same time, they don't get objectives just now, even though they got a kill in front of the tier 1 tower.
You see Io and Tiny looking for a kill at the top lane. Unable to find anything, though, so Limp doesn't want to waste time. He goes back to his own jungle and continues to pick up farm there. As expected, you do see Chessie queuing up that Manta style now. And it's going to farm up the Dire jungle even. Now, Skim, you mentioned that stack earlier on the Radiant side, by the way. It was just taken by Sven right there. Yep. So that's a nice makeup.
To be fair, Complexity didn't invest too much into this stack. I think they stacked it twice. So in that sense, it wasn't that big of a stack, and you know, they weren't necessarily reliant on it. Otherwise, they probably would have taken it already. But it's just a bit careless. You just don't really want to give that to Sven, and the stack has been sitting around there for, what, 3-4 minutes now? So, I don't know, just feels a bit weird, but at the same time, it doesn't really hurt them too much either.
Well, top tower goes down, 19 minutes into the game. Complexity keeping the objectives up, so that Manta style is going to be finished. Okay, not your everyday item on this hero, but there are some things that it's going to be nice for removing. And allowing Limp to feel a little more confident as he goes into these fights. And now he does have the axe queued up as well. So there's our answer as far as when he was going to be picking that up here. Arcane Boots finished on Tiny. Not Tiny, Io in the meantime. He basically is, he's like kind of half of Tiny. Stays with him the whole time anyways. And I just love how Complexity is just farming the Dire jungle though too. You could just tell how scared the Dire is here. They're just giving up their own jungle even.
Yeah, the vision, it doesn't really... It's nice, aggressive vision, but they can't really make use of it just yet. They would have to smoke gank, really. Like, they have 2 wards that perfectly capture the Radiant jungle, but because they don't really see anybody, they can't really go there either.
That's a tough task here for the Dire squad. Limp cleans up an Ancients, and I mean, Roshan's a course up. Is that something that Complexity should be thinking about coming up here? Because, again, they've been spending a lot of time on this whole middle lane. You're going to see initiation. Slaughter goes into the back line. Didn't really hit anybody, though, I believe, and he just jumps into insta-death right there. And they also get Batrider on top of that. The song comes out from Ion. Guess where he's porting? Over here. Now that Ravage, again, ready to go, but probably won't need it. Gush used on his Sven. He's just swimming on him now. Literally swimming on top of him. Avalanche coming out after the kill anyways. Double kill for Chessie. And now it's going to be a bottom tower push on top of that. Moo has literally yet to use his Ravage, yet you know what? They don't need it.
They really don't. And that's the great thing about how Complexity is moving and has been playing this game thus far. Against a team like, you know, like the Dires, you know, with the Batrider, with the Slaughter, even with the DK, you would think that they would find openings to find like ganks with their blinks, right? But how many kills have they actually gotten with their blink? I'm pretty sure only 1. So, I don't know, I think they're just playing very patiently. They're making sure that they don't get caught out, both on the supports as well as the cores. I mean, not that move really has to care because, let's be honest, he's so tanky that they would have to commit literally 4 or 5 heroes to actually kill him.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I think they're just playing very well around the map, and they have great wards. They know that Misery's here.
They saw him sneak up here. The Avalanche didn't even hit, but they're still gonna, well, maybe not get the skill. Chain Frost comes out. It bounces back a couple of times, but a great spread ultimately by Complexity. Minimal bounces. Z-Freak does get credit for the kill on Misery. I believe that was an earned kill. Doing good there. Kyle, they're going to jump onto him, though, but Tiny, he's ready to go back in with the combo. Not going to go into that case, though. Io, he wants to save his Io teammate, though. Z-Freak tethers up with Limp. Here comes the Ravage. Moves like, remember this ability, bitches. Pycat, he's melting away with Phantom Lancer, sitting on top of him, and eventually will go down. CCC in the other Dragon form. It's not going to be tanky enough. Limp eventually pounds him down with the assistance of Jesse. In fact, Jesse gets the triple kill. And Kyle, you can tell he's pumped up, but he's spamming emotes like that.
Yeah, this is just great execution from Complexity, and yeah, the Dire reinitiated that fight, but at the same time they jumped the Silencer who already uses spells, so, you know, the surprise, the element of surprise was used on the Silencer instead of maybe, you know, the Tiny. So I don't know, it was a bit scrambled in a sense, and it was just great timing from Mu as well, and Chessie as well to move in, sort of last minute, making it a little bit difficult for Dire to coordinate on the two of them, and great team fight. Could have been even worse for the Dire, to be honest. The Ravage just missed the Bad Rider, I believe, so that was very lucky.
What's the game plan here for the Dire now? You're now down 11,000 net worth at this point, 22.5, 23 minutes into the game. I mean, Sven's doing all right here, but he is behind in farm when you look at the two cores on the other side. He has a BKB queued up. Is that the answer? I mean, is that a, they get that, then maybe things can turn, or do they need more?
It's definitely going to make it a lot easier because the Sven is not going to get kited as much. But I think they need to find smokings first before they can really go for this, or before they can rely on the BKB to carry them. Because right now, the way they're playing, or the way they've been playing so far, has been sort of patient and maybe a little bit scared because they don't really have the vision to back up whatever their game plan is. But I think they just need to smoke up and try and find a kill because half of their heroes depend on these ganks. They're not necessarily great teamfight heroes.
Look at Slaughter, he's trying to find somebody. Meanwhile, the top tier 3 is being pressured now, and Batrider comes back in, but that might be it for the cost of his life here. In fact, it absolutely is. Limp is now on a dominating streak, and actually he gets relocated out to the bottom lane. And now Chessie has to survive, but back to the bottom lane. Toss used on a Misery right here. No Ravage just yet for Tidehunter, so Misery keeping his distance. Gush up in a second, though. There we go. He missed the crush on a Tidehunter. Did hit Limp. I don't think Misery's ultimately escaped, though. I mean, he does have the sprint pretty damn fast with it. Activated pops a shrine as well. Back at the top lane, meanwhile, Z-Freak and Chessie both go down while this getaway is happening from Slaughter. So that actually works out very well for Misery. Look at that bounty, by the way, for CCNC. 913 gold as he stops an 8 kill streak, the first death of the game for Phantom Lancer.
Yeah, very strong play from Misery here. I mean, first of all, denying that kill into the Sven by immediately jumping them and counter-initiating with a crush, and then even escaping on top of it as well. Wasted a lot of time on Complexity's part. They potentially neglected the fact that, you know, there were a lot of TPs to the top lane, and they were waiting for that Wisp and the Phantom Lancer as well, so a bit sloppy from Complexity, and this is definitely the much-needed break that Dire needed. This, you know, what takes the Phantom Lancer off the map for a minute, basically, gives them some time to farm and potentially even find another kill if they want to, so this is pretty good for them. They just need to be a bit more patient, but at the same time, they also need to find more kills like this. Like, they need to find more pickoffs like this, even if it is on a support. As long as they can make sure that Complexity doesn't 5-man, I think they're in a good position.
Well, again, they definitely have strong late game. I mean, with the Sven here, and on the other side, to be fair, Complexity also does have pretty strong late game. So they can't necessarily play the game of let's just tank this out forever. But yeah, finding their openings, being patient, and you can definitely tell they've kind of backed off as far as committing themselves. Again, they were giving up their jungle earlier, as we mentioned. CCNC does have his BKB now finished himself, and then we talked about Sven working on his own. In fact, he's already got the Mithril Hammer, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, he actually has it in his inventory there, so there you go. The Ogre Club and the Recipe are what's left. Meanwhile, Roshan was wondering when we're going to see this happen in this game, and sure enough, it's 25.5 minutes in.
Yeah, this is a bit worrying now for Dire in a sense where, you know, Limp does have the Aghanim's now, so he can push a lot faster now. Like, this is going to change the pace of the game a little bit just because he has that item now as well. And once a couple of more items rain in, I think Complexity is going to soon look towards the fight, look towards a push. They do have the Aegis after all, and they need to make something out of it. So, you know, I think the next 2, 3, 4 minutes are going to be very telling. And if you're Dire, you probably want to, you know, trade as efficiently as possible, either in objectives or try and find a pickoff. But as I say that, Complexity is moving as 5. They just don't want to give them those pickups.
No, they don't want to give them the opening. And Ag's Tiny, it is ridiculous for beating down towers. Now, again, they do have the Lich. 9 armor on the building. It is maxed out here, so it's not going to drop as fast as it maybe usually does. He also doesn't have that Echo Saber that we see a fair amount of times on Tiny. So, again, this building is surviving quite a bit, but they are going to get the tier 3 at this rate. They're holding onto the Ravage, of course, so the last thing you want to do is if you're the Dire is just commit to a big fight, only to get huge Ravaged on and completely turn. So the top tier 3 will go down. The Rax, what about that now? Titan, they're going to jump on him. Is that really the best choice? So Limpy chucks in the God Strength BKB Sven. The Ravage goes up. Pycat, he's looking for the target. He's finding all the illusions. He can't find the real one, though. And now he's dying himself. He gets a couple of hits on the real Phantom Lancer. Not going to be enough. The Global Silence on top of that. Chain Frost is going to bounce around. Do a fair amount of damage as well to slow them down. Look at the spread, though, from Complexity. In the mid-fight, they do a pretty good job of it, but Phantom Lancer's getting low. But Moo comes in to save that day right here. Guardian Crease in 5 more seconds. They're getting kills, so they don't even need to save Chessie. He's fine until it goes back to the racks and gonna beat it down. There's a couple of buybacks though, as Limp will take out Misery and force him to buy back for Has. The Flame Break pushback. They do not get the racks, but they don't get any hero kills on the side of the Dire, and they're not even done.
Yeah, they had Guardian Greaves, so they're all pretty much. I mean, Chessie, look, he's full HP again. Wisp, Guardian Greaves. Oh, this is fantastic. So they just take racks, and I don't think they're gonna go for another set of racks. That would be too greedy. You know, could just take Shrine, take the game a little bit slower.
Yeah.
Just let the Dire sit in this loss, basically, right?
Soak it in. Yeah. Soak it in. Yeah, no, this is a very tough spot to be in that for the Dire right here. Sven is, again, has the BKB, used it right there, and they still did a pretty good job of kiting him around. So that goes back to that item. Yes, it's great, and he needed it, but at the same time, you can still play around it. You can still try to kite him with set abilities, as Phantom Lancer right there using the Doppelganger to get away, and obviously Sven trying to figure out which one's the real one in the midst of that chaotic fight. So it's something that as a spectator you kind of have to remind yourself too. For him, he doesn't necessarily see which one's the real one. He kind of just has to do educated guesses there. So bottom lane, well, they found the real one.
Gets absolutely destroyed.
I'm rambling on here.
This is you know. I mean, I think we've pretty much seen why I said that the Sven-Phantom Lancer relationship isn't as clear-cut, because in the top fight, Phantom Lancer kites him around like crazy, and he cannot kill any of the illusions, or he can only kill the illusions, can't really kill the real one. But the bottom lane, now we see why the Sven is so strong against the Phantom Lancer. As long as you catch him out, you can just wipe him and his illusions in an instant. So it really goes both ways, and it really depends on, you know, who finds the better initiation. So this is definitely something that, you know, Complexity going forward, they really need to rely on Limp and on Moo to find those right initiations, to buy Chessie that space to deal as much damage as he can.
Moo checking out the bottom lane. And he feels pretty comfortable. He even knew that they were down here, but if they jump in, reactions could come in, especially with the relocate. And for how long it takes to kill him, it's just not worth it. So he feels safe for good reason. And we'll get them to fall back. The Radiant, they do scan out several people in the area. Kyle, like how he's just standing in the face of Slaughter, says, "Come at me." That's because he has his brother and Limp behind him, so looking a little tougher than maybe he really was in that case. But Silencer does have a Helm of the Dominator, by the way, and I think I mentioned this in the previous series too, that the Complexity has also been doing this a lot lately. This is an item that Kyle definitely showing that he appreciates, and again, it kind of fits that mentality of the team fights and doing the objectives that this team seems to have, and him as a captain, that's always been his mentality.
Yeah, for sure. It's such a strong pushing item, not only because of the aura, but also because of the creeps that you can dominate. They add a lot of value. You know, we've seen the Wild Wing Ripper in the last series. Now we see the Alpha Wolf. There's just so much damage or so much bonus added just from these creeps, and they're difficult to bring down as well. You can't just, oh yeah, I'm just gonna burst him. No, I'm not gonna say it's impossible, but it's very difficult. And well, with the Aegis, Complexity are gonna push again.
after that positioning from Moo, by the way. Again, Ravage, of course, is ready to go in the backlands. Lasso, they caught Silas with no global sense. They want to blow him up. BKB goes up the cost ring. Can they blow him up in time? The stun on top of it. The Clipper Cape's not going to save him, but the teammates are dying around him. CCNC will fall. They did pick up Phantom Lancer in the midst of that cleave. They'll limp. Now he's deciding to go for the melee. Rex says, get off me, bro. Want to kill your buildings. Moo, he's, of course, just fine to go. Full life. Here comes Io, by the way. Bot back. Relocates in even and helps to secure the kill on his Sven. A triple kill for Limp, and GG, well played, is called. Just like that, it feels like Complexity is going to take game number 1 here in this best of 3.
Absolutely dominating performance. Complexity winning pretty much all 3 lanes, and then from going there, just not giving Dire any opportunities, any openings. You know, with a team like, what, Sven, Slada, Bad Rider, you'd assume that Team Dire would be able to, you know, find a very dominating mid-game where they can kill pretty much anybody on Complexity's side. But not only were they tanky, you know, Moo, Tiny, but they were also just so grouped up together that they never gave them an opening. And I think Complexity played this